When we're doing our site assessments to make sure that the site that we're going to be monitoring on a regular basis is okay to be coming down to, there's a few different topics that we look at in terms of making sure that it is safe for us volunteers going down here. So the first thing is about being how close you are to a main road. So you do want to be fairly, close, so you're not in isolation. You can contact people if you need to get help, but you don't want to be right next to a 60-kilometre road, 100-kilometre road, where there's a high risk of getting hit by passing cars. Also, you don't want to be too far away from where you park and carrying your gear. So you don't want to be walking a kilometre or so when you're carrying, a toolbox full of monitoring equipment. If you do have a fair distance that you are going to be walking between your car and to your monitoring site, it's usually best just to carry the least amount of gear that you need, usually just the pole and the sampling bottle to collect your sample, to take it back to the car or to the central point, whether it's at your house or at a seat in a public park, that you're going to be running through your analysis of your water quality sample. We do want to look out to see what's happening with the canopy above our site as well. So a lot of our gum trees can drop their limbs without warning, particularly a higher risk when the wind levels are up higher. So that's one thing. You don't want to have too many, particularly older gum trees, but any gum trees with overhanging branches over the top of where you're sampling. This is a tree that has come down in the last couple of weeks. And along with, you've got the immediate risk of limbs coming down, you've also got limbs that are around on a longer term basis that could be causing some trip hazards where you're walking around on the site as well. So we're lucky enough here on this site, it's quite clear on the ground level, so we can easily see the trip hazards. Some sites, the grass might be a little bit higher, and so the trip hazards like logs, rabbit burrows and warrens, wombat holes, other kind of little spaces you might catch your ankle in might not be as immediately obvious. So that's always one thing to sort of keep in mind. Maybe readjusting your site if there's too much high grass, if you're not able to get any sort of changes happening with the mowing regime. And also the pole is really handy for that as well, to be able to test the ground in front of you as you're walking along to make sure that you've got the best chance of finding anything that might be coming up in the grass in front of you. With these sites as well, you can also see there's a little bit of undercut that's starting to happen on the opposite bank to us. So erosion, undercutting of the banks can be a bit of an issue. We don't want to be standing on top of some of these areas, particularly when you have more of the undercutting processes happening into these creeks. Great for platypus habitat, not so much for us to be standing on top of. So you don't want to be having that coming underneath you and then taking a spill into the creek. Another thing we try to plan into selecting monitoring sites is we usually want to try and sample on public land, because that way we can always access it. We don't have to worry about getting permission to get out on site, and we don't have to worry too much about having to get behind locked gates and fences and things like that as well. Different story if you're sampling on your own property, which a few of the landholders that we work with do, but generally when we're doing our regular monitoring sites across Melbourne, we try to always choose sites that are public land, publicly accessible, and no issues with getting onto the site on a regular basis. When we're moving between where we're parked and coming out to the site, one of the things we do want to take into consideration is where the pole is and how much of that could be posing a hazard to others that are around us. So if you can, always have the pole fully compacted down. And when you're moving around, try and hold the pole straight up and down. Otherwise, if you are on the side like this, you've got a better chance of hitting someone accidentally. But also take into consideration when you are walking, if you're holding the pole straight up and down, that you're not going to be directly underneath power lines, and particularly you don't want the pole to be extended really far out when you are underneath the power line. One of the reasons that we say don't go out into an electrical storm is because if you're holding onto one of these, really good conductor, potentially if you're out in the middle of, say, a grassland, there's no other high structures that are around you or other trees. The most important thing when you're out monitoring and doing any activity with Water Watch is to make sure that you feel comfortable and you're safe with the activities that you're doing. So if there's any aspect of the work that you're doing that you don't feel that you're comfortable with doing, or that you feel that it might be unsafe to do it, please absolutely stop the activities, reschedule, or have a chat with the rest of the group, or have a conversation with your pool neighbour to see if there's anything that we can deal with to make the site a bit safer, or something in modifying the work that you're doing to make sure it's something that you feel comfortable with and it's within the skill set that you have. The main thing is any data that you collect is not worth putting yourself in danger or risking your well-being or your health to try and collect it.